Okay, up next, we are going to be having our round table. So I'd like to call up Sarah, the CEO of SpaceiShare, Tori, and we can sit right here, Top Knot, Sarah from Primped, and Anita from Planet Legal. Let's hear it for them, please. My bad. The unique and continued hurdles facing female founders and mentoring success. Okay, welcome, ladies, to the event. Thank you very much for coming today. My energy goes through my feet, so I'm going to kind of walk around as we do this, and we thought this would be a great spot to kick it off. So, Anita, why don't we start with you, and maybe just give us 30 seconds on yourself, your business, and what you're about, and then we'll jump into the next and go from there.
Hi, my name is Anita, and I'm a lawyer and a founder of Planet Legal and a poet. Planet Legal connects clients with lawyers in new ways to enhance the client experience, as you were saying. We do it through tech, personal care, process, and informed choice, from start to finish.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Tori.
Hey there, I'm, hello? Hold it, there you go.
There you go.
Okay. I'm Tori Lord. I'm the CEO and founder of Top Knot. We launched our business in December of 2018. We make baseball caps for women that allow you to wear your hair high on your head, and when your hair is down, you can have a full back baseball cap. And you can see my lovely colleague Samab, who's filming me right now, wearing a baseball cap. So we are. I am in now publicly launched in the public, and really just taking my product to market and scaling it the best way I can.
Perfect. Thank you. Sarah.
Hi, I'm one of the co-founders of Primped. Primped connects customers seeking beauty treatments with freelance professionals that run their business on our technology. The business was born out of the pain points that me and myself, my co-founder and I faced as investment bankers, trying to fit it all in with your packed professional schedules and, fit in your self-care and beauty needs.
Perfect. Sarah.
Hey everybody, my name is Sarah. I'm the CEO of SpaceiShare. SpaceiShare started off as an Airbnb for storage and parking. We have now morphed into more of a space management platform for organizations, municipalities, property managers, where we're now helping them manage and monetize their spaces, making it more easy and more efficient.
Perfect. So Sarah, why don't we start with you? But the question that I'd like to dive into first is, on your journey, when you first started your company, you came up with an idea, a concept, and you decided, I'm going to go for this, and you started to dive into the market. And when you dived in and you started getting feedback, how did that take? What were people saying? Were you getting support, family, friends? Where did you go for that, and how did you really drive this forward to where you are today?
So it was one of those things where I'd been a GM at a startup, so that's what really grew my interest of doing this. And when our beloved company was shut down by Toronto Star, and the day before I'd only just announced to the universe that I needed a sign of what to do, I decided that was as good a time as any to start my startup. In terms of the idea, the early stage traction, the media coverage that we received, it was all positive. I had two great co-founders by my side. I had a little bit of money in the bank from supporting family. We had a platform that had been built just to see whether this was even a thing. And then we also had the media that had supported us. We were on breakfast television, Metro, all the signs that indicate that things are going well. We became the top graduate at Founder Institute, and we went on to Colorado to do an accelerator. So all good.
So you dived right in. Tori, how did your start begin?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question because I feel like being in our second year, just the first days, I feel like we are still starting. And what happened initially, the product actually came to my mind because I needed it, right? So from a woman who has long hair, who is active in the fitness community and also has traveled to spaces with sun, I really did need, from a functional perspective, this kind of hat. That's where it was born from. I was walking on a beach. I was telling a couple of people tonight, I was walking on a beach, needed to put my hair up. I was balancing this hat on my head, and I just turned to my mom and I said, why the heck does this not exist? I'm going to make it because it's such a simple concept, and I always believe that the simple ideas are the ones that are the best ones. So I really did dive right in. I kind of took a year. I was in advertising, and I started cutting up hats. And while I was doing this, I had, my little cluster of women in my advertising company who really supported me and loved the idea. And I said, if it's these people that are my confidants here that like it, and they're not my friends and family, then I can only imagine what can be well received in the public eye. So that's kind of where I started. And then from there, it's just, again, I think someone was saying before about seeing someone's eyes light up when you see the product. You really just see how much it's needed from a woman's capacity. And I love making a product for women. So that's kind of where it all wrapped up when I started.
Very nice. That's awesome and a great start. Sarah, how about yourself? How did this all build out from?
Yeah, so similar to Tori and probably like a lot of companies, we started Primped really from the problem we faced ourselves of working on Bay Street and having, a packed and professional and personal schedule and, fitting in our beauty and self-care needs. And what happened either is we would forgo them or give up our personal time to receive them. So
I need Primped.
yeah, so do many women. So what we did is, even before being very investment banking like mindsets, is we did a market research where we surveyed over 500 women, and 95% of them came back saying the same types of problems, wanting the same types of solutions. So that really gave us the confidence to leave our full-time jobs to pursue a startup. And then from there, which is about a year and a half ago, it's just been growing, and we've had tremendous support, from our network and just people willing to help a startup that they feel like a very key problem to solve.
Perfect. That sounds like a great way to start. Anita, you've started something recently. How did that work out?
I'm a bit the opposite of my colleagues here, because I'm a lawyer and a longtime recruiter. And I just got this idea, hey, if I'm doing this manually, why not put it online, like do an Uber for legal? And I had my colleague, my IT manager of 22 years. Yeah, around there. And so we just, on a hoot, just started creating a WordPress site for matching clients and lawyers. And then he decided to move on, and I became a WordPress widow, in effect. So after he left, I've had to really scrounge to learn from the back end, from the content to the actual structure, and we're creating a network. So it's been a learning experience, and the jury's still out. It's a great idea, but it takes a village. It takes a whole planet to make it work, and we're called Planet Legal.
Very good follow-up. You've all kind of touched on one subject that's really kind of key to it. When you all started, you went out and you did some market research, you went to people that you knew, and you built a support network before you actually launched or got really deep into your product. Tori, maybe you can give us a little bit more about why that was significant in your journey to where you are today.
Yeah, I mean, just even thinking about it and recalling all the memories of how I started this. I remember I worked at a company called Anomaly. I'm not sure if you know that advertising company, but I think it was about 155 people, or give or take, when I was doing this. And I remember distinctly creating a survey for the women in my company and putting it on every single woman's desk. Because I had my close-knit girls, but I wasn't friends with every single woman in the company. So to have that, I just thought I think it's a lot of people, I think a lot of people that have ideas and concepts, they do keep it so close. And I think one of the, to them, and they maybe they're scared that someone's going to take it or steal it or run with it or think it's stupid. And I just remember a very, very early onset piece of advice that I got was just share your idea with as many people as you can, because they've got their own lives. They're not going to go and do it and steal it. And once I got that piece of advice, I really did open it up. And to answer your question, I think it's so important because you have to do your research before you choose to invest your time and your resources and your energy into something so big, so huge. And I knew that I had a vision. I think half the battle is having the vision and sticking with that passion, but I did need to have some validation from from people that were not my friends and family. And I think that that's just so important for anybody to kind of have before they dive in, like, completely, 100%.
Perfect. And how about yourself, Sarah H.?
The research really helped us. Again, we surveyed over 500 women. Majority of them came back needing kind of a service like Primped. But what it also did is we tiered whether we should make these anonymous, people should leave their emails. We left the option to leave your email, and most people left their email, and it gave us people to go out to right after launching our product that would want it. Another part of why research is so important, and a lot of founders have probably heard this, is you don't know what you don't know. So like any opportunity you have to learn, grab a coffee with someone, mention your business, hear what people think. It will speak wonders to what and how it can impact your product. So even a thing at Primped we did, we spoke to another founder who said, hack together an MVP, put it out, see how people react, then invest money into a mobile app, and you'll get a lot of feedback. And that's impacted the way we do our booking flow, the type of information we collect, when we send reminders, all that stuff, even an MVP, something really quick to hack together, very cost effective and quick, you can learn a ton from.
And that's very good insight, because when you do put something quick together like that, you can get that really quick feedback. And I know that Sarah S., you put together your platform in a speedy way, but you brought something else to the table, which is not only putting something together to get to market, but you also did it with 2 other co-founders. Can you give us a bit more insight into that part of it, on why that helped you guys get to market quicker?
Well, luckily having those 2 co-founders, we all had the experience and the depth of personal network connections that allowed us to go out to so many more people, especially when it came to the fact that they'd worked in a certain industry for much longer, in digital media, working in tech development. They had a few people to put us together with. So that was certainly a benefit. And I don't think I personally would have made the jump at that time without having those founders with me. I think it was something that I needed that courage to just do it with them. Looking back on it now, I think it's funny because I was sitting in front of another very successful CEO, and she said to me, how on earth did you do that? Or are you doing this with founders, like co-founders? I could never do it. And I looked at her and I thought, how on earth are you doing this on your own? Like, this seems so challenging. Cut to a couple of years later, or at least a year and a half later, my co-founders had both decided to step down. And then I was on my own. And I think it was the perfect ability. Like, it just gave me that jump in order for me to feel like, okay, I can do this on my own. And I needed that in order to, like I said, it was a perfect scenario to get me where I am now.
Well, congratulations for that, in the sense that you were able to overcome those changes, but you started the growth with them, which is a great way to get into the space and into the market. Anita, on your end, as being a lawyer, I find that lawyers are more risk adverse, I guess. They see a lot of different companies around the world at $1 million a day, I guess. But when you started out your own venture, you mentioned you became a developer at the same time. So how have you built into the support, into the networks that you have, to be able to keep yourself moving with the issue of losing your developer?
Yes, I was very fortunate. I did get some help via government grants to replace the developer. So, however, I started off on the technical side because I needed that, because I couldn't just close my eyes and say, hey, you do it. I had to understand. That's just my nature. I'm a resilient, ambitious person. So I really respect the art of coding. My seeking support was later on. It's kind of now. I've formed a Facebook private group, Lawyers for Marketing, and I'm tapping my resources. I'm going to a very top-notch immigration law lawyer. We're going to be doing some workshops together. So now that the site is built, the back end is done, it's full strength ahead now. Though I do think, as your guest speaker said, you got to think how persistent are you, how much, how hard do you want to hit, and it's just every day you just got to come up with the moment and the decision and the action.
And you're right on that doesn't stop. It won't stop tomorrow, and it'll be, just as tough the next day after that. But it sounds like with resilience and drive, you're going to be able to overcome those. But I think one of the things that I was really trying to tap into, which you've all mentioned, is that you started off by driving in mentorship, driving in people to help you get to that next stage, help you take that risk. So I think that for everybody in the room, that one has become, that's really fantastic. I think everybody should take note of that. It's a great way to start something, is to have people surround you, help you, give you the positive feedback. But now there's the thing, which is, I'm faced with some sort of diversity. I'm faced with issues that are preventing me from growing or preventing me from raising funds. And I know we've talked in depth many times on this subject matter, but maybe Sarah S., you can kind of give us all a little bit of an overview, if you will, of what's going on in the space of how you guys are still trying to tackle this. How are you trying to get through the thick of all the startups in Canada that are starting every day to make noise and to be able to get investment from the government or from angels? What are you guys doing, and how are you working out in that?
So I think it starts with you yourself, the leader, the person who's the founder, the co-founders. You have a dream. You literally have an idea of something you want to do, whether you're building the biggest X of Y, whether you're selling the most of something. It's something that just takes hold of your mind and your soul, and it's something you can't stop. So if that feeling is in you, then you'll figure out ways to make it work, no matter what. And that certainly was what happened with me. So in terms of the mentorship, we had amazing mentorship throughout the time that I've been doing this. And I've, connected with people here in Toronto through Founder Institute, and then down in Colorado at the Accelerator, which is like a Techstars for women. So there were lots of people there to support me, which was all well and good, except that when you run out of money and nobody's handing you a check because your traction isn't there, it becomes really difficult to keep going. So you feel like you're holding on by your fingernails, and you're constantly asking yourself, what the hell am I doing still holding on? But you can't let go. And you always tend to find, if you're a positive person, I guess, like myself, but you should always try to figure out a way to get to the next step. How do I get here? How do I get there? I can see that happening over there. And I think that's where, you have that fanfare at the beginning, like, woo, everything's great. You started a startup. That's really cool. And then the reality sets in where you expect things to go a certain way, and they never effing go the way you expect it. So if you think that it's going to be easy and you're going to go from this company or accelerator to that one, and you're pump and dump, and you basically are on the stage in a demo pitching to 600 people, and you just expect that money to show up, which of course I did, and it doesn't, then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, what am I going to do? Pardon the language. But seriously, it becomes an internal mental, not struggle, but opportunity to really start digging deep. And that's something that if you start a company, you will have to do that. And it'll be at not just this stage, but it'll be at every stage. And so, throughout that time, I was able to raise more money. I've got a team of 10. I have a new platform. I have, obviously big opportunities now, but it certainly was and has been and will continue to be a really big challenge as you go along. But there's so much that is fun and awesome and fulfilling and passionate about what we're doing, because at the end of the day, as much as my other job paid me whatever it paid me in the corporate world, it never fulfilled me in my heart as much as this does. And that's super important.
No, and that the diversity, the drive that you put into that to never give up, that's fantastic. And I think people need to be aware that when you're building a company, the strong survive, and you found ways to survive, and that's amazing. Tori, how have you found that same process on outside of the support, but in those groups that you're targeting now? What's your feedback on that?
Yeah, just to echo Sarah's point, I think it comes down to you have to just be diehard passionate about what you're doing. I've always had many ideas growing up, and I carried through some of them to a really far place. I don't know if anyone, I just flashed all my ideas in front of my mind. But either way, like they didn't happen because I didn't have the passion for it. Like this product, like, I don't know, this product is going to make me $1 billion. Like this is going to go, yeah, you laugh, but like you wait, like it will blow up. And I know it in my core that this is going to be, it is what I'm envisioning it, and it will be what it will be, So that, I think, is the crux of this whole thing, is that you have to be so diehard about what you're doing. And to your point earlier about surrounding yourselves with experts, I mean, I'm very, very fortunate that I'm privately funded, but I know where my strengths don't lie. Like I came from a background of advertising. I had no idea how to make a product in China, overseas, what pattern making was, anything to do with it. And I dove in and I hired a consultant right away. Like I cut up all this stuff, but when push came to shove and I gained momentum, like I needed to have those experts around me. And I really do strongly believe that you need to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, that you can learn from, that will push you and challenge you in ways, even if you're the boss. And that's kind of where my mind went when you were asking that previous question. So.
No, and what I love about what you just said, and you said, you might laugh, but that is...
He's laughing in front of me, but
I think it's actually a smile, because that's actually what it takes. That's what it is all about. You've set a goal and you're going to hit it. And you know what? You're going to have a lot of choices to make when you get up to that $1 billion, but make sure it happens. And there's a great story that one of the other startups said. I wrote myself a $5 million check, and I was going to cash it in 5 years. I haven't done it yet, but I'm certainly going to cash that damn check. So kudos, and keep pushing, because you're going to hit that $1 billion. I guarantee it. Sarah, how about yourself? Where do you find yourself fitting into this same mix of outside of the support and what you're getting from the community?
So Primped has been successful in a family friends angel investor round. It did take a lot of work. I now understand why a lot of businesses don't exist, because it is hard to start a business from scratch and well as fund it. But I think, and what was interesting, what Kevin said earlier is, if people are saying no, like ask why, or maybe it's not now. So I think we first started early on and pitching to people. We got some no's beginning. We also got some yeses, but we went back to the no's and said, what was it about the no? Like, can I explain something differently? Or, and so now, even when we get no's, we're like, okay, but let's have another conversation. Is it really a no, or are we not explaining something properly, or do you want more information? So it definitely takes a lot of perseverance and being very committed and passionate to your job. And then second is taking the mindset of the person you're talking to. So we are a very female-focused business. A lot of companies, are founded because of the problem that they're solving. So a lot of female companies are solving female-focused problems. And so if we're talking to, let's say, a male investor, obviously they don't receive beauty services recurringly across multiple services on a monthly basis. So, put in their kind of language like, you have this appointment, you receive it every month, but you have actually 5 of these appointments every month. And to book each appointment could take you 5 to 10 hours. And even then you might not successfully book it. And you got to book this 3 weeks in advance when your schedule could change. And you don't know who's good, who's not. Like, good luck. So when you explain like that, then they're like, okay, I understand now. So putting your kind of, your problem in the mindset of the person you're talking to really helps as well.
That's a very good point, and that's speaking to your audience and learning who your audience is. And regardless if they're on board and they understand your business, being able to explain to them why you're going to be successful, why this business works, and why it's actually a problem. A lot of the times you may not be able to understand the problem because you don't live it, but at the same time, everybody can see it and understand it if you tell the right story. And that's great that you've been able to maneuver through that and grow within the community of investment. Anita, on your side, I know that you've started to look deeper into this aspect of it, and maybe you can share a little bit more about some of the challenges that you've been faced with, but also how you're persevering to get through those, and some of the ideas that you've come up with that might help enable a lot of the community when they're trying to find some dollars.
I tend to be a natural, I question everything. I'm curious. That's how my family survived the Holocaust. So I just don't take no for an answer, but I also don't necessarily want a yes. the wrong way. So I've definitely encountered the traction problem, like my friend Sarah there, and the same thing, the horse and the cart. What do you get first? The money or the traction? And I've kind of unfortunately felt that like you need money in order to get more money, and there's tons of reasons for that because it's a hugely competitive market for the the demand vastly exceeds the supply. I respect that. There's got to be a different way. There's got to be also a different way because some of us are not born orators who could do a stand up like those people did. They're brilliant. I can't do it, or if I don't feel I can do it, I have other things I do really well. There's got to be another track for startups, for brilliant innovators. So I think there should be a new risk assessment model. I think it shouldn't just be traction, which means revenues. I think we should have a committee of committees. We should have a parent committee, funding committee to come up with new ideas for the children committees. Because you don't have time to think about it. Traction, show me your traction, goodbye. Show me your traction, goodbye. There's too many of us, just go away. So if some learned, experienced funders could sit down and really roll the dice and throw some new ideas around and to explore risk models, alternatives, customized to category of founder or for category of area. And then the females, as you and I were discussing, Jeffrey, the females can be leaders for other outliers to spread knowledge and leadership. And now, for instance, I read recently in the Maple Leaf Angels newsletter that the OSC Launchpad is soliciting survey feedback on exactly what we're talking about, on capital raising challenges faced by innovative businesses at various stages of development. So I'd like for us to open up that conversation, having more ways to lead to heaven.
That's very well put, and you're correct. There is a lot of challenges in that raise position for all businesses when you have 5,000 companies a year starting and all looking for funding, all with the next best idea. And I think what we've really summarized here is that all four of you have come over that hurdle by having the support, having the driving force, the passion to stick behind what you believe in is right and stick in with what, of course, you see as being the next growth and how you're going to get there. And I think now the discussion has to open up, and with the next panel, we'll get into some of this as well. But how do we start to fund and prototype? How do we fund earlier stage companies so they can get off the ground? Why? It creates jobs. Why? It creates passion. It helps people move. It makes people be more excited for everything in their daily lives. And all of that has to start somewhere, and maybe it starts in this room because we are part of the Toronto Council right now. So maybe we can put something forward, but there really does need to be a change and a way to help support that. And maybe Angelo can take this back to John, Tori, and see if there's a way to get better support. But I really do feel that there is a change that does need to happen, and Anita, you're bang on with that. And maybe it can be the driving force of having women mentor over and drive out that and figure out ways to distribute a better outcome for early stage companies. So in ending, I'd love to have you guys share just 30 seconds of something that you would recommend, because you guys have all come up with some great pieces from mentoring and passion and these things that will help everybody in this room. So maybe you can throw out a couple of key things that have helped you grow and something that everybody else should pay attention to when they're building out their early stage company. And maybe you want to start, Sarah S., and work your way down, please.
Sure. Well, I'll say that not getting funded was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I was able to make a lot of decisions based on my own opinions, not based on other people's opinions of what I should do. And it led me down a path that I never thought I would get to where I'm at now. And I don't think that would have happened because I saw people in my doing the same kind of thing in other countries and having very different results. But I will say that Jeffrey and Anita, you're absolutely right. There is a huge gap for people who are coming out of the gate. When you've built your platform, that's when you need the early stage funds to actually get the marketing out there, to actually spend a little bit on some people for jobs. I think it really just takes investors with more of an appetite for earlier stage. Everyone seems to be ticking further and further along, trying to get down that path to say, oh, we need you to have a 2,000 MRR or 10,000 MRR. That's not what it's really about. Like, as one Silicon Valley venture capitalist who does invest in pre-seed or seed, his version is pre-seed, is friends and family. You get your product up and running, and you look for seed when you actually need money to launch it, to use for marketing. And seed is, these days it's anywhere from 500 to 3 million. And there seems to be a big lack in, I'd say, in the community, where people just have to look you in the eye and see that you're really passionate and you're going to do it, and just pull out your wallets and write a check. Just do it. I'm encouraging all of you to do it, because there's so many passionate people out there, and I don't think you realize the power that we all have to make those things happen. And it's not based on the numbers in the box you're putting us in. It's actually based on quantum physics. So.
Perfect. Well said. Thank you.
I'm going to dive away from quantum physics, though, and just say when you're first starting, at least from my own personal experience, and you're building that team around you, be really careful with who you choose to be your team. It takes a hell of a lot more energy and time to have to get people in and out if they're not the right person, and find replacements and, have a revolving door in that sense. So really, really be smart about who you put in your team, and try to vet them as much as you can. References, triple interviews. Just bring in a person that you might not even have anything to do with your business, but is an expert in that field, and have them sit in on an interview with those people so that they know that you know what they're talking about. Obviously, it's coming through from personal experience that I've had a little bit of luck, or not so much there, but I feel like it's a really, really I would say important part of starting is having a very strong team. And then the second part is that when you find that team, give them control. Like, do not hold them tight. Let them run with what they're doing. I mean, you hired them as experts for a reason. And I think I read a quote the other day where it's like, delegate to the point of abdication, because if you can just have people do things that you can't do yourself, then you can free up your plate for so many amazing things from your business. So those are the things that I've learned in the first year.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Sarah.
So I'll be quick, but I guess the first one is don't hesitate to ask. Someone recently said, no asking, no getty. So honestly, there's no harm in asking. Worst case, you get a no, or they just don't respond. So now I take that approach, and it is hard to kind of get over that fear of uncomfortableness. So that's one point. The second is leverage your networks. And if you don't have a large network, not everyone is that fortunate, ask around. People are willing to help, and try to say yes to things. So even just going to events like this, get involved in the startup community. If you're a founder, just, get exposure to it. And then the last point is really move thoughtfully, not just quickly. So there's a lot of instances. Startup life is not perfect. Stuff will happen. You'll plan out, and things just will not roll out the way you thought. The best advice I've taken and have worked well is, things will happen, but it's more just how you react to it. So, really important to move thoughtfully versus just quickly.
I like it. Anita.
One last point on that about asking for things. Pick up the phone and make a call. Do not hide behind your email. Do not hide behind your screen. I've got 90% more of my business because I get on the phone, I call, I walk into the stores, and I have a bag of hats in my hand. Don't email in this world. I know we do it, just don't do it. Pick up the phone, find the number, and give them a call.
Anita.
Best thing that happened to me is I stopped looking for money. Because you don't know how obsessive it can get. You're constantly looking at a person, not because they're nice or smart. Have you got money for me? So that's the first advice I give. Stop looking. And then on the small side, you get smart when you stop looking. I mean, you kind of have to tighten your belt a bit, but you go for shortcuts, you go for what's effective, you go for what works, you get really quite granular. Then on the big side, I'm getting really creative, which I'm anyway, and I'm looking for alliances that I never dreamed of before. If I'd had a check, that's it. Who knows? It might not be the same product. So on the big side, get alliances, Facebook groups, go wherever you can to make those associations. And on the granular part, just do it anyway.
That's amazing. Let's big hand for the 4 ladies. Thank you very much. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
And to summarize, I think there was a lot of valuable information there, and I think really you could summarize the entire entrepreneurial experience just by all of the points that they brought up. And to emphasize, have the passion, work with the people that you're going to have on your team, trust people, be a driver, let people do what they're good at. And I think the last big thing is when you build something great, people will come chasing you. They will start throwing money at you. And I think it was, I can't remember which basketball player he was on, Oprah, and he said, when I was trying to be a sports person, I couldn't eat, I couldn't buy shoes to play basketball, but as soon as I made it big, everybody threw everything at me, and I haven't paid for anything in 20 years. So you know that when you got something, people are going to chase you. So make something great and try and figure out how to bring those people to you through the greatness that you're building. So thank you very much, guys. That was fantastic.